Welcome to the Yessy's Designs Knitting Podcast, episode 33. My name is Yessy. I am the maker and the designer behind Yessy's Designs. And if you have been here before, I'm so happy that you're here. If this is the first time that you join my channel, this is where I share all the knitting that has happened since I recorded last. Maybe I share something that has been happening in my family that I think you would enjoy watching, or something related to the fiber community. I hope that you enjoyed this episode that I have been putting together for you. Now, this episode is going to be a little different. In my last episode, episode 32, I shared with you 5 of the podcasts that I enjoy watching. And I told you that in a future episode, probably the next one, which is this one, I was going to share some of the podcasts that I really like spending time with. So on this episode, I'm going to share 10. I watch more than 10, but I think let's keep it at 10 for now. So my plan for this recording is that I'm going to sit together with you for 5 days. And in each day, I'm going to share with you a couple of the a couple of the podcasts that I really enjoy watching. I'm going to let you know why. If you are familiar with them, let me know in the comments below. If you are not, try to give them a chance and see if maybe you feel that sense of connection with these episodes. Maybe you are going to enjoy them as well, and they are going to keep you some company as you knit or crochet or do anything that is related with the fiber world. Now, I'm going to start with my very first podcast that I started watching. But before I share it with you, I'm going to show you the project that is going to be on my needles today. This is my Snowfall baby blanket. I'm not sure if by the time this episode is up, if the pattern has been released. I let you know on the last day of my recording. I don't think it's going to be released yet because I want to work on at least another sample, and then I'll let you know. I'll let you know on the last day of the recording. So let's start with my first podcast that I ever watched, and I still watch it up to this day. Now, let's start with the fact that I didn't even know that there were knitting podcasts out there. I started hearing about them at the beginning of COVID. So this is a time where so much was going on. We were all affected by it. And I came across the Fruity Knitting podcast. So I started watching it and I loved it so much. And I still watch it up to this day. There are many episodes in there. There are hundreds of episodes. And I'm still catching with some of the first few episodes, but I watch it every time Andrea releases an episode. And in the meantime, I try to catch up with another, maybe one or two other episodes that are, older episodes. So I'm going to let you know why this is one of my favorite podcasts and why I recommend it. When I think about this podcast, I think about a season of stillness. Now, again, this is the first podcast that I started watching, and it focuses on knitting, fiber arts, and the global knitting community. Doing a little bit of research, it started in 2016 with Andrew and Andrea, a lovely Australian couple based in Germany who used to host and film and produce the episodes themselves, recording in their home, but they also often travel to interview fiber artists around the world. I fell in love with the segments Knitters Around the World, Extreme Knitting, and updates on their own knitting under the segment. It's called Under Construction. Right now, the podcast is hosted by Andrea and Madeline, their daughter, and they continue with what Andrea and Andrew started. There are educational tips, community feel, a global perspective, and storytelling. These episodes are about an hour and a half long. This is their full-time job, and you can really tell that they put so much of their time and their heart into producing these episodes. It is very inspiring to me to see the love for the fiber arts around the world. And when I'm knitting and watching it, it feels like if I am in a knitting circle. One of my favorite things to see in this episode, besides all of the things that I have mentioned, is I love to hear accents, stories. I was reminded that creativity is shared through culture and generations. So it's a podcast that it's very dear to me. It came at a time where I needed that. And every time I sit down and I watch a new episode, I still get the same feeling. So give it a chance. Fruity Knitting on YouTube, hosted right now by Andrea and Madeline. Now, after I started watching Fruity Knitting, I was talking to a friend. Her name is Gail from Nia Thai Creations, a very dear friend, and she recommended the Woolly Thistle. I have never heard about the Woolly Thistle before. It looks like I was living under a rock. There were many things that I was introduced to during this time of COVID, but at the same time, I was thinking, I still am a busy mom, but my kids were very young. So a lot of the things that I did involved my children going out and very busy. I hardly had too much time to myself to sit down and watch YouTube, let's say. So when my friend Gail introduced me to the Woolly Thistle, right away I went to watch it, and I still do. It's one of my favorite podcasts as well. They release episodes. I don't remember right now. I think it's every other Friday, if I am correct, but it's on Fridays. So take a look on YouTube at the Woolly Thistle podcast, and let me share with you why I enjoy watching it. This podcast is hosted by Corinne and Maggie, and Corinne owns a yarn shop called the Woolly Thistle in New Hampshire. Now, the episodes unfold like chatting with a friend. They talk about what's on the needles, what's inspiring, and also the episodes center on knitting projects, shop updates, personal reflections, educational tips, and techniques. One of my favorite segments is the one with Rachel from Fair Isle. She appears in the Fair Isle podcast segment, and she shared glimpses of her life in the farm, her sheep. They have the most beautiful names. They are so cute. She shares her surroundings, the challenges and the joys of taking care of her beloved sheep and living in a place that is so isolated. Now, it's so mesmerizing to me, and I just love to see what Rachel shares because she lives in an area that holds so much history in the knitting world. I also enjoy the fact that when talking about projects and techniques, it doesn't feel distant, or like if you're in a class, they have a couple of um, two or three girls that on a regular basis they are sharing their knowledge on the podcast or projects that they are working on. So it's like sitting at a table, and if somebody says to you, let me show you how I did this, and then you lean a little closer. That's the feeling that I get when these girls make an appearance and they show either the latest design and how they made it, or they share the techniques involved in making a certain garment, or just they talk about a technique in general. Now, this podcast to me is a reminder that slow work matters, that working with woolly wools carries history. I have some of their yarn in my stash, and this is really woolly wool. It's beautiful yarn. It makes you have that feeling of like this is what knitting is all about. So I recommend this podcast to you. Give it a chance and let me know in the comments. Now, this is the ending of day 1, and I'll see you again on day 2 to share with you a couple of more podcasts. In the meantime, I'm going to continue here. I'm going to work a little bit more on my blanket, and then I have a lot of cooking to do this afternoon. Some of my friends and I are getting together for pasta dinner. We have a friend that is Italian, and she's going to show us how to make. Now I don't know what kind of pasta, but she's going to show us how to make pasta. And all of us, the rest of us that don't know, we are just going to bring some dishes to add to pasta night. So I'm going to make sure that I record something, and I'm going to put it right here so you can see some of my afternoon today. So, what do you think about that pasta afternoon? We had so much fun. My friend Romina, she's from Italy, and she has a business from her home. She makes focaccia bread, sourdough, Italian brownies. She has quite a variety of things in her menu. And all of us, all of our friends were so excited when she invited us over for pasta night, so much that I think she has like extra 2 dates for hosting friends and learning how to make pasta. It was so much fun. We learned so much. It was an incredible afternoon. So I left it with that. Her handle on Instagram is Il Forno Bakery. I'm going to be leaving the link in the description below. So I am working today still on my snowfall baby blanket. I think I have, let me check. I have 4 more sections to repeat. Each section is 12 rows. So I am almost there. I am very confident that today is Friday, that by Sunday I am going to be done and I'm going to block it and have it all ready to bring it to An Company on Bank next week. So we are doing okay. Today has been a very eventful day. My daughter, she's sick. I had an appointment and then running around. But I wanted to stop by and talk a little bit about 2 of my favorite podcasts as well. So as I was preparing to talk to you about the podcast, I made a list of 10, like I mentioned before. For this episode, I'm going to have 10. But there's so many that I love watching. I really enjoy watching this podcast. So I made another list, and in another episode, I'm going to share with you 10 more podcasts that I enjoy watching. So on this section, on this segment of the podcast, I'm going to talk to you about Knitting Together with Kim and Jonna and Youngfolk Knits. I am sure most of you are familiar with these 2 podcasts. 3 amazing, talented girls. And let me start with Knitting Together with Kim and Jonna. I'm going to be reading a little bit of my notes because it's one of those days. One of those days that it's so hard to put thoughts together. It was such a bad night last night. I was awake for most of the night with my daughter. So I am my thinking in English is not working that great today. So Knitting Together with Kim and Jonna. And I hope this makes justice to this podcast. I met Kim and Jonna, I don't know when, maybe 2 or 3 years ago at Pick Up Every Stitch. They are, as you see them on the podcast, they are very genuine, very caring, so sweet, very kind. So this is what I wrote about this podcast. And for all of these reasons that I'm going to let you know here, this is why I recommend that you watch it, that you give it a chance if you are not familiar with it. So Kim and John are friends. They record they used to record their podcast in Pick Up Every Stitch, which is a yarn store in Mount Kisco, New York. It's a beautiful, beautiful shop and very inviting as well, if I may say that. They have a very long table where you can sit down and knit. They have, I might be wrong, but I think they have knit nights. And if you are just there to purchase yarn or whatever, you can sit down and work on your knitting. So they would sit together and they talk about their knitting, they talk about life, they talk about what is on their needles. And when I watch them, it's like if you are sitting with them, listening to them, like if you are part of the conversation. Now, they bring a natural rhythm to the conversations. They share their current projects, patterns. They show also their yarn choices, even sometimes the frustrations that come with making something by hand. Now, what stands the most out to me is the dynamic. What stands the most to me is their dynamic. There is laughter, there is ease, and that gentle back and forth and friendship who truly enjoy sitting and creating together. You can really tell they are friends. They are very good friends. And it's the kind of conversation that I picture having with a friend who also shares your passion for knitting. It makes you feel like you're included. When you're watching these episodes, that's how I feel. I feel like if I am included in the conversation. Now, knitting can be a lonely hobby a lot of the time, and they make you feel like you're not alone. Now, give it a chance. They talk about why they chose a pattern, why they chose a color. Watching them feels like a conversation. There is a sense of togetherness. So, this is what I came up with. So, a couple days ago, I sat down, and I think this is what I'm going to do with the other episodes because I can talk about them. But for me, it's hard when you are processing the thoughts. I still do a lot of translation in my head. I say a lot of ums because I'm trying to figure out a good way to say it. So I'm gonna try to make justice to exactly how I feel about these episodes. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna be reading them to you, and at the same time that I'm reading, so you don't see me the whole time on the paper, like looking at the paper. My son is gonna put a few videos in here. Most likely, it's gonna be how the podcast looks and takes you through a few videos in there. So Kim and Jonna, they are always a pleasure to look. I have seen them too at Rhinebeck. They are such prolific knitters. They both, you can tell they both love to knit and came to crochet. Now, I don't remember if Jonna crochets. She might. I don't recall now a project, but I remember from Kim, if you see the intro of their podcast, she has like a crochet piece on her steering wheel, and she has shared a few crochet projects. So enjoy your time with them. Their episodes are maybe an hour, maybe a little over an hour, so it's perfect for sitting down and bringing your knitting and enjoy your crafting time as you watch them talking about their own projects. Now, the second podcast that I'm going to talk about is Youngfolk Knits. And this is hosted by Casey. I met Casey. I also think about a couple of years ago. I'm going to look for a picture in my phone and put it in here when I find it at Rhinebeck. So we met, we were in the author's building. I remember that I was with my daughter, and that building, if you have been in Rhinebeck, that building is so crowded, especially when the authors are there. All of us want to meet some of them. So there is a lot of people in that tent. And I was with my daughter, so I'm making sure that I'm with her, that she doesn't get lost in the crowd. And I remember it was one of those moments when I'm like keeping my eye on her. And then all of a sudden I see Casey like right here. So I just said, Casey. And she looks at me like, I tell you, it's like if we have known each other from before, which I no, it was not the case. Not that she knew who I was, but I love her podcast too. She is like what I said with Kim and Jonah. She is as sweet as you see her in her episode. So now I'm gonna go to my notes and I'm gonna try to make her justice, and I'm gonna share with you why I love this podcast from Casey and why I recommend it to you. Now, this podcast stands out to me because Casey approaches knitting with so much intention and respect for the craft. She loves to knit, but she also does more than that. There is, I think she has painted, I believe it's in watercolors. If I'm correct, she made like a sheep. And there are other crafts that she enjoys working on. But yeah, the podcast focuses on knitting, and there she also shows some of her sewing skills. And I'm going to say more about that in a moment. So Casey has such a calm presence. And this is one of the first things that I remember thinking when I started watching her episodes. She's very calm, and it makes you want to keep watching. That's how I feel. Now, her episodes are thoughtful, they are grounded. She shows some peaceful moments and surroundings in her home in Arkansas. Um, I think this is the first time that I hear Arkansas the way she says it. I don't think I get the accent to say, but I know that before, and I don't know if it's with the Spanish or if other people, maybe not here, maybe you all know how to say Arkansas. I would say Arkansas. I would say all of the characters in there. But she lives in such peaceful surroundings. So at the beginning of the episode, she lets you know what else is happening in her little space in the world. It is like sitting with a friend that genuinely loves the process of making. There is care in her yarn choices, in the pattern selection, and in the way the projects are spoken about. Casey also sews, and it is always inspiring to see outfits she puts together with her sewing and her knitting. Her podcast feels authentic. I recommend it so much. It's one, I mean, when I watch Casey, everything is, again, it's so peaceful, it's so calming. And she's such a talented girl. I mean, the sewing always takes my breath away. So she usually combines, let's say that she makes a pair of pants or overalls and she has her knitting under. And the way she puts the colors together, it's really cool. The pieces, obviously, that she makes are just beautiful. Now, sewing is one of those things that I have some regret about not learning how to sew. I have mentioned in another podcast that both my grandmothers were seamstresses at some point in their life. My mother-in-law is a seamstress as well, and I have no idea. I have a friend that is a seamstress as well, and she's very patient. And I believe she has tried to teach me, I want to say about 3-4 times with scrunchies, and for the life of me, I cannot do it by myself. I'm sure that if I give it more time, or I don't even know what I need, maybe at some point I would get it. But in the meantime, it's such a skill that requires so much attention. You have to be so meticulous. The way you do every single step, it has to be with so much intention. So I hope in time, I have to give it a chance to and see what I can make. But so far, sewing is not on my list of, oh, I'm good at sewing. It's not, but it's so beautiful to see the pieces that she puts up together. It's really cool. So give it a try, and I am gonna see you next time with two other of my favorite podcasts. So I think by now we have 4. We have 6 more to go, and I see you another day. Hopefully it's gonna be a day where I am more put together and my thoughts are more aligned. But I think from what I just did, I think, if you don't mind, I mean, you let me know in the comments, but I think I'm going to feel better about myself if I put first everything in writing and read it to you. I'm much better at writing than at speaking, especially with putting all the English grammar together. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I see you in a little bit. Hi again. I was debating if today I was going to share with you 4 podcasts instead of the original idea that I had of sharing 2 every time I sat down here to work on my knitting. Because we're dealing with sicknesses, and you know how it goes. Somebody starts and then the next one and then the next one. So I don't know how this coming week is going to be. I haven't slept much in the last few days, as my daughter has been sick. She's getting better, but let's see how it goes. So at the end, I just said, let me just share 2, because I have quite some work to do this week anyway. So I can use some of that time and share a couple of more episodes with you. So I am now gonna share 2 other podcasts that I really enjoy watching during the time that I'm sitting down. So just to share a little bit with you before I mention which 2 these are, I just finished the yellow blanket that I was working on the last time, the Snowfall baby blanket. Right now it's been blogged. So I'm looking forward to see how this blanket is gonna look in this beautiful yellow one. It's all dry, and I cannot wait to see the drape. This is a very, very soft baby blanket, the yellow one. So I'm looking forward to finish with it, in the sense that I'm taking measurements. I probably am gonna add details about this specific blanket. This is the second Snowfall baby blanket. I did a sample for the pattern, but I think I'm still thinking about it, debating sharing the measurements and all the details from this second one, just to give you two yarn choices or options that I use for making these two samples. So I have some work for me this week, as well as writing the blog post and everything that has to be done before the pattern is released. I am thinking that by next week it might be released. I let you know. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, go there. I'm gonna share probably something in the stories or maybe probably a post. But if you are subscribed to my newsletter, that's where you're gonna learn about that first. That includes a discount for the pattern for a period of time, and everything that happens. It starts with a newsletter. So I don't write you every week. I probably send a newsletter every couple of weeks, but if there is a pattern release, I'm a little bit more active in there. So right now I started with another project, which is the Meadow Hand Towel. This is a pattern that was already released. You can see that pattern on my website, Etsy Ravelry. It's a lace hand towel and it's so beautiful. I love it. I love that lace design. I have loved that lace pattern for so long, so I was very excited to work on it and add that to a hand towel. So I'm making a sample using yarn B. This is Sugar Wheel Cotton. Citrus Grove is the colorway, and I purchased this yarn in Hobby Lobby. Let me see if okay, there you go. It's right there, and this is the colorway. I was looking for colors that would make me get into the swing of spring, and I love this colorway. I have not worked with this yarn before. The first thing that I liked was how soft it is. You know that if you're working with cotton, recycled cotton, it might be a little rough on the hands, and I made a few samples of this hand towel in recycled cotton, and even though the design looks very pretty and it's gonna serve its purpose, it's not gonna get undone as you use it for either cleaning the kitchen or having on display in your maybe a guest bathroom for your guests to use it as a towel. Everything is gonna be fine. It's still a little bit rough, so I was looking forward to find some yarns that were on the softer side. So I have used yarn from Hobby, the cotton from Hobby, some cotton from Lion Brand yarn that I have here to make a few more after I finish with this one. But when I saw this one in Hobby Lobby, I really wanted to give it a try, so I let you know how it goes, you know, in an episode when I share about it on my Instagram and everything. So this is the pattern that I have on my needles this week. I don't think I have the mental energy to do, I don't think I'm gonna be doing more during this coming week. If I get to finish this one, I think I would probably work on another one with some cotton from Lion Brand yarn. Let's see how this week unfolds for my family. So let's share. Let me share with you these next two podcasts. As I mentioned on the last segment, I'm gonna be reading from my notes because I feel the responsibility of really conveying what I feel and what I think about this podcast. And if I just say it, you know, from the top of my head, I'm doing all the translating in there. So I say a lot of the ums that I mentioned before, and it's a little bit harder for me. So I'm gonna be reading my notes. So my son is gonna put some videos as I speak, so you don't see me down reading all this time. So again, these are two podcasts that I really, really enjoy watching. The first one is Wool and Wine. These are three amazing, kind, and fun girls from Ohio. I have met Tammy, Claudia, and Janet a few times. The first one was at Pick Up Every Stitch. This is the yarn store in Mount Kisco at one of their events before Rhinebeck, which is called Road to Rhinebeck. They are, as you see them on their podcast, they are very sweet. They are so much fun. They talk about knitting while sharing a glass of wine. And at the end of the episode, they review the wine they had on that episode. Each episode includes what they are wearing, finished objects, whips, yarn and pattern discussions, and also their travels. They travel quite a bit, I think. And it's always mesmerizing to me to see all these places the places that they go to when they share videos or pictures about their travels. I really, really enjoy that as well. Now you get to see clearly when you watch this episode the feeling of friendship. You can really tell that these girls are very, very good friends. Their conversations never feel rushed, and there is laughter. There is moments when things or moments where things didn't go as planned, and I think every knitter can relate to that. So they share with us what they had to do to fix something. Maybe they just had to frog the piece, but they share a lot of the how real knitting can be, and again, I think we can all relate to that. They make you see that knitting in a group or sharing in a group adds so much value to our knitting time, and that some friendships grow in a different way when we share a common interest. So give it a chance. The next time you are sitting down, you're looking for something to watch, give it a try. I think you might find this podcast very, very enjoyable. And the next one is the Knitting Posse. Now, these are also three friends. They are from Connecticut, so I have also met them. And I have met them at Rhinebeck. I have met them at Knit Pick Up Every Stitch in Mount Kisco. And again, these are girls that you can also tell that they are very, very good friends. Now they sit together to share their finished pieces, their whips, the yarns, the patterns. Kate, Kim, and Laura, they bring their own perspective to each project. They share about events they have attended and their process of making a piece from beginning to end. Now, the conversation has a very natural flow. You can tell that they share a passion for knitting. You can also tell how curious each one is, as one of them is sharing about a piece, because they talk about everything, why they chose the yarn, where they got the yarn from, why they thought this yarn would be good for this pattern, color choices, and all of that. So I also find myself curious and smiling and laughing with them. I really enjoy my knitting time watching these podcasts, and they really capture the feeling of community. They do things also as a community, attending events and giving classes and all of that. Not all of them, but I enjoy when they share about these things, because I don't go to every single event, and sometimes I don't know that an event is happening. So I really enjoy the sharing of things that have happened in the fiber community. So I'm gonna let you go now. I have to make some lemon and honey tea for my daughter, for myself. I think I'm just gonna make one for all of us and try to boost up that vitamin C and the sore throat, make it better and all of that. So I'm gonna go back to my other things that I have to do, and in the rest of the afternoon, when it's a good time, I'm gonna keep working on my meadow hand towel with this new yarn to me. Hi again. I'm gonna share with you two other of my favorite podcasts. But before I do that, because I know you're gonna ask, I'm wearing my Northern Views cowl. You can find the pattern on my Etsy, Ravelry, on my website. And this is a pattern, if you're not familiar with it, that comes in two versions. It has just the snowflakes, like on this one. And there is another version on the pattern where you can mix snowflakes and hearts. It's a very engaging pattern, so take a look at that if you're interested. And I'm also going to share with you the project that I have been working on for maybe the last 2 weeks, I want to say. I've been making meadow hand towels. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen them already. This is a hand towel that has a little loop on the end, so you can hang it from on your kitchen or in the bathroom. So I'm making quite a few for my local shops. And that is what I have been working on in the last few days, making sure that the two shops have enough metal hand towels. I'm also working on the baby blanket. Finally, yesterday I took pictures, so I have to add those to the pattern. There is something else that I'm gonna add, but probably when I share the last two podcasts that I enjoy watching, maybe everything is gonna be ready by then, so I share more with you. Or maybe in the next episode when I just talk about the pattern release. So, two of the other podcasts that I enjoy watching are Skein of Dreams and Fiber Chats. If you're not familiar with Skein of Dreams, this is a podcast hosted by Mega. And when I watch this podcast, I feel that it's very intentional, that she speaks in such a gentle way that really wants to make you feel that you want to keep watching. She also sews, and listening to her and seeing her work, it's like an invitation to slow down and really sit with the process of making. One of the things that I appreciate from this podcast by Mega is that her work is approached with care, not finishing something quickly, but it's more about choosing something thoughtfully. The yarn, the pattern, the purpose behind the piece. These episodes often feel calm and personal, meaningful. And during my knitting time, Mega's content feels especially grounding. It invites you to enjoy the rhythm of knitting without feeling rushed. I tell you, there were at least four pieces that we had to edit because I just couldn't say the word rushed. So it is always so enjoyable to see her podcast. And I know I have mentioned this before with some of the other podcasts that I have shared, but it's like if you are there, like if you are with her as she takes you through the whole process. It's really enjoyable. So take a look at Mega's podcast, Skein of Dreams, on YouTube and give it a chance. I hope that you guys enjoy it, but I am pretty positive that most of you already know about Mega. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next um, podcast, which will be, I think, number 8 on this list, and it's Fiber Chats. This is a podcast hosted by Irina Shar. I have met Irina a few times at Rhinebeck. She's so fun. She's so sweet. She's so knowledgeable. And watching her podcast, you're going to get that impression, I am sure. The way she speaks, the way she shares things, the patterns that she designs. It's a podcast that has so much content. Irene is such a talented designer. Her lace work is breathtaking. Irina also hosts interviews that add so much more depth into the channel. Through conversations with designers, makers, creatives in the fiber world, we are invited to hear directly from them. These interviews feel intentional, unhurried. Irina really wants you to get to know the person. Now, these interviews are not just about promoting a pattern or collection, but about understanding the person behind the work. You're going to hear about their creative process, their inspiration, their creative journey. It is a reminder that every piece we knit is connected to someone else's story, someone else's ideas and experiences. I think this is what makes Fiber Chats so special. These conversations really connect you to the knitting world, or the fiber world for that matter. Now, watching it makes you slow down, think more deeply about what we are creating, why we make what we make. Now, if you would like to see the interview that I was part of in Irina's podcast, you may go to episode 342. I really enjoy this process with Irina, the way she asks you questions, and it really feels like a conversation when you are doing that with Irina. So give it a chance. I have learned about so many designers through her podcast, and it really humbles you. I mean, the fact that we make the work that somebody or that we work on something that somebody else designed and get to know them, their story, why do they do what they do, it really makes you feel more connected when you are working on somebody else's pattern. So give that one a chance and let me know in the comments if maybe you are familiar with these two podcasts, Skein of Dreams and Fiber Chats, or if this is the first time that you hear about them. If that's the case, let me know if you took some time to watch any of them. I'm going to see you on the next segment, which I'm going to be sharing podcast number 9 and number 10. And I'm sure that this is going to be just one small list. And in the future, I would have from 11 to 20, not in any relevant order. Now, I don't think I have mentioned that before. 1 to 10 doesn't mean that for me, 1 is the best and 10 is the worst or the less good. But it's just, podcasts that I see without rating any of them. I love them all very, very much. I'm very intentional with my time. So when I am knitting, I'm very mindful of if I'm listening to an audiobook, if I'm listening to music, if maybe I'm watching a movie, or if I am watching the podcast on YouTube. I always do something that adds to my making time, something that makes me feel either more joyful, more calm, or whatever feeling that I'm looking for at that moment of my making time. So I will see you on the next segment. I hope that you guys are having a good day. Now, here we are in the last two podcasts that I'm going to be sharing on this episode. They're going to be aka Nora Knits and the last homely house. This one is a little bit of a mouthful for me. Now, let's start with Nora Knits. Now, when you watch this podcast, which is hosted by Nora, she lives in a farm here in Connecticut. I have met her before. Nora, she is so sweet, a very creative and talented maker. When you get to see her episodes or her podcast, I think the first thing that you think is her editing. And the podcasts are like if you're watching a TV show, very intentional, so well curated and edited. Now, Nora, she walks you through her knitting decisions, sometimes even calculations about the cost of her pieces, through her yarn choices, construction decisions. It is such an enjoyable podcast to watch because Nora, she shares everything she can with you about the pieces that she is working on. If you are a new knitter, for example, it walks you through so many things that I think a knitter would enjoy learning about. And you will find this information so useful when you are making your own pieces. Now, the next podcast is The Last Homely House. This is a podcast hosted by Kate. Now, Kate, she lives in Northumberland, which is at the top of England. Now, her videos cover gardening, quilting, knitting, hand quilting, cooking, baking. She hosts it sometimes by herself, but she would have her son having an appearance sometimes, her daughter-in-law, Anna. And it is such a joy to watch this podcast. This is the newest podcast that I started watching maybe a month or two ago, maybe less than that. I didn't know about Kate until recently, and it quickly became one of my favorite podcasts to watch when I am working, when I am knitting, sometimes when I'm cleaning or cooking. I will put her on my YouTube, on the TV, or on the computer because she has been having these podcasts maybe for about 8 years from what I gather. So I started watching the latest episodes and slowly I am making my way to her older podcasts, and they are all such a joy. Now, her videos create a warm, friendly atmosphere that inspires viewers to be creative. When I see her, I feel like if I am there, like a friend who gets invited to drink tea and craft. She brings her stories to us in a way that feels so relatable. Now, if you want to feel inspired, if cozy living appeals to you, rural lifestyle, this is the podcast that you should be watching. Now, on a more personal note, I am recording this segment of the podcast maybe after a month and a half of not recording anything, because without going into details, I have been feeling very down for several reasons. And to the point that I wasn't even knitting. I didn't touch my needles for quite some time. And then Kate's videos, they motivated me, like, slowly to get back into the rhythm of my own routine, my own knitting, or feeling creative. I think all of these podcasts that I have shared on this episode is a reminder of why I still think that let's say it's YouTube, social media, like social media or YouTube, can be so incredibly useful and motivational. As I mentioned at some point before, I am very attentive to how I spend my time in all aspects of life. I try to spend my time in things that are gonna not just bring me joy, but that are gonna motivate me, that are gonna be useful, that make me feel happy. And all of these podcasts, they have done that for me through the years. From the first one that I started watching, Fruity Knitting, that came at a point in life for when all of us were suffering so much. And then to the last one, the Lastly Home House, where Kate has been igniting all of these new inspiration. I am knitting, watching her, and I feel very inspired, and I find myself smiling a lot as I see her explaining to us. When you get to see Kate in these videos, you're gonna see how detailed she is in the way she walks you through the things that she's doing. I don't knit, I don't sew. My grandmothers were seamstresses at some point, and I never learned how to sew. It never appealed to me. And when I watch Kate and I see her quilts or some of the other projects that she works on, it's giving me that sense of, I wish I could sew. Like, I now see sewing as part of my future at some point. I'm not good at it. I have been taught a few times by the same friend, and anyway, I think at some point it's gonna click. But all of these projects, is it the color choices, is it the inspiration process, is the planning of it, all of it, it makes you think of, when life gets hard, it's such a blessing to have something to do with your hands, things that actually bring you joy in your own making. Wherever that piece is gonna go, is that piece gonna be for us, for a family member? Is it gonna be for a relative, for a friend? Is it gonna be for sale? Is it gonna be donated? It's something that came from our brain, from our heart, from our hands to the next person. And I hope that if you have not heard or watched any or some of these podcasts that I shared today, I know I have mentioned this before, but give them a chance, and I hope that they are inspiring to you. I hope that they bring some value to your making time, that you really, truly enjoy them. So I'm gonna see you on the next episode, and thank you for being here. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know anything that you enjoyed about this episode. If there is a podcast that you're familiar with and that you love, share that in your comments. If maybe you were introduced to a new one and you loved it, share that in the comments. Let's keep the inspiration going for all of us. And I will see you the next time. Bye. Happy knitting and happy making.